With YouTube demonetizing independent media, please consider becoming a patron today for just $1 per month. Link below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and this story has been blowing up all over social media today. Chris Hardwick under fire as ex-girlfriend alleges abuse and blacklisting. Now, the story, if you read Twitter, is that he's a sexual abuser. I've seen the rapist word tossed around. But if you read what she says, it's kind of like hit or miss, right? It's a very gray area, and it's one that is going to be difficult to discuss in terms of how I'm going to approach it. I'm going to catch some flack for this video, but some things just don't seem to add up to me, and I wanted to talk about that. So it says here that Chris Hardwick, the founder of Nerdist and host of AMC's Talking Dead, is facing allegations that he abused and blacklisted his ex-girlfriend, cosplayer Chloe Dykstra. Now, Dykstra published a lengthy essay on Medium on Thursday alleging that she was subjected to sexual assault and controlling behavior over the course of a 3-year relationship. She did not name Hardwick, but offered sufficient details that he was quickly identified. Oh, it was entirely meant to identify him. In fact, if you look here just at it, and I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but it's this was posted yesterday, and it's a 10-minute read, and it's unlisted, saying here the story is only visible to those with the link. Right now, keep that. I want you guys to keep that in mind. So she wrote this whole thing, knowing exactly what it was going to do, knowing exactly who it was going to target, and knowing exactly how things are going to play out. So, as some might argue, this is a cathartic release of this information that she didn't name Hardwick directly. She did everything but name Hardwick in this. And whoever was the one spreading this around originally clearly knew that and clearly helped get the ball rolling, which is one of the reasons why I've had a little my brain's been, something about this feels very off to me. Again, not saying it didn't happen, not saying Hardwick isn't an emotionally abusive son of a bitch. I have no idea. But elements at play here feel kind of weird. That's all. That's kind of where I'm at. Now, Hardwick launched the Nerdist podcast in 2010 and built it into the digital network Nerdist Industries, which was sold to Legendary Entertainment in 2012. He recently separated from Legendary to rebrand a podcast called Idiot. And that's the thing, too, is I've seen a lot of people who write for Nerdist quitting, like Scott Weinberg, who's a film critic. He's like, I'm quitting Nerdist because it's associated with Chris Hardwick. Well, he hasn't. He sold it to Legendary in 2012. So that's not the case anymore. He hasn't, he doesn't own it. He doesn't work with it anymore. Now, in a statement on Friday, Legendary distanced itself from Hardwick, said that the references to his role as the founder of Nerdist would be scrubbed. So they scrubbed all references of him from the website, even though there's been no evidence admitted or released to back up these claims, to verify these claims, to validate these claims. It's very much a listen and believe scenario, not a trust but verify, which is unfortunate because this is where Me Too has gone. And if people are mad at me for saying that, I think that's abundantly true. As soon as this dropped, if you go and you look up Chris Hardwick on Twitter, it was a lot of fuck Chris Hardwick, a lot of it, which leads me to believe that there are people out there that already didn't like this guy, that were just using this as the opportunity to utterly trash him. And instead of people saying like, well, where's the evidence, right? Like if you're making these accusations, where's the evidence? That's where I'm at. I've covered enough of these false accusations over the years where I'm sorry, either go to the police, file a report, or provide the evidence that will back your claims. But we don't live in that world. You can't ask for that anymore because that's considered a bad thing. And I don't believe that is. I don't believe due process is a bad thing. Now, I want to just kind of stop for a second and say there have been times where I've given the benefit of the doubt to people that I probably shouldn't have. And that's on me, and I'm trying to not do that, but we are human. We make those mistakes. In this particular case, again, as I was reading through everything, it just kind of kept eating at me about it. Something about this just felt off, right? Now, it says here, Chris Hardwick has no operational involvement with Nerdist for 2 years, preceding the expiration of his contract in December 2017. He no longer has any affiliation with Legendary Digital Networks. The company has removed all reference to Mr. Hardwick, even as original founder of Nerdist, pending further investigation. So at least Legendary's investigating. So, they're looking into it, but I'm pretty sure they'll probably see whatever Chloe claims to have. They did respond with, like you, we were shocked to read the news this morning. Nerdist prides itself on being an inclusive company made up of a positive, diverse community of people who come together and share to discuss the things that we love. This type of behavior is contrary to everything we stand for and believe in, and we absolutely don't tolerate discrimination, harassment, or other forms of abuse. So there's that, which is a good stance to have. No question about that. Then they also included numbers for sexual assault hotlines in the statement, which seems to be kind of a standard norm. And Hardwick has yet to respond to the allegations, and AMC, which is The Talking Dead, and NBC, which is Hardwick's show The Wall, have not responded to requests for comments, nor have they responded on Twitter, at least what I've seen at the time of recording, to the many requests that those shows are canceled or that he is subsequently fired. Again, this is entirely without any evidence provided by the accuser, but the court of public opinion has already grabbed the torches, already grabbed the pitchforks, and are already going for him. Right? And that, again, seems a little bit odd, doesn't it? Seems a little bit like, isn't this not the place we should be as a society? Isn't this not the place we should be? We should be asking for the evidence, asking for due process before completely destroying someone's life. Now, like I said, I do not know if this is true. Based upon the very detailed Medium post, I would argue that, yeah, there is probably a fair amount in there that is accurate. But again, I can't fully believe that because I haven't seen the evidence to support it. And in these cases, especially with Me Too, especially with Time's Up, I think there has to be a greater push for evidence, because we've seen careers destroyed and it's been very little to go on, and it's caused a lot of problems. Now, it says here that in her essay, she says that her ex-boyfriend was emotionally abusive. She also said that she was coerced into having sex with him whenever he wanted. She said that he laid down the rules for her social interactions, isolating her from her friends and other sources of support. During the relationship, she said she'd become anorexic and had an ectopic pregnancy. I'm not too sure what that is. Shortly after surgery, she asked she said her ex asked the doctor, "When do you think I can have sex with her again?" Which apparently really angered her mom, because he said this in front of her mom. Does kind of seem like a Chris Hardwick thing to do. To be honest with you, I've seen him enough at Comic-Con. He says the first thing that comes to his mind. Depends on the situation. He could just be a horn dog. I got no idea. Like I said, those are some serious accusations. Serious accusations. And there are people out there that are confused by this and conflicted, because they do look to Chris Hardwick as one of the hardest working men in Hollywood. They look to him as being this stellarly nice guy that was well liked by so many people, and that this is kind of a slap in the face. And I think to them, the evidence is owed. I do. I think the evidence is owed. Because if you don't do that, then of course it becomes this problem of like, well, I have this preconceived notion, and you're asking me to change my preconceived notion, and I'm asking you to supply me with evidence to suggest that claim or to prove that claim, and so far it's not happening. Now, she said she left him after 3 years, only to have him blacklist her in the industry. She says, because of my leaving him for someone else, he made calls to several companies I received regular work from to get me fired by threatening to never work with them. He succeeded. I was blacklisted. Now, as I want to kind of just stop right there, because again, this is something that kind of got me thinking. She apparently broke up with him in 2014. He published it on Twitter in 2014 that they broke up. This is her IMDb page. Again, not saying he didn't blacklist her, but if you come down here to her work, her body of work, you can see that there's a couple things here. She was in a TV series, Realm of Labyrinth, Chaotic Awesome. She was in a series. Then from there, she continued to get solid work. Maybe not as much work, but definitely getting work. So the blacklist is questionable in my particular opinion. Could be wrong. I don't know. She could have gotten more work. But it looks like even before then, in 2013, she was doing short films. A couple things here, Cop Skyrim TV series. I mean, that was like a short, and a lot of these were shorts, things like that. So again, it's not necessarily that she was doing a lot of feature work or a lot of starring work. It was a lot of short work. And then from 2014, it seemed to then move itself up into more of the, from amateur to professional in that one. Again, not saying anything other than her IMDb shows us that she was working around that time. So how this blacklist works, I have no idea. I don't know. I want to put that out there. Again, people can have their opinions on that one. She probably was. I mean, she could have gotten better work. If you're dating one of the most influential guys in Hollywood, You could probably get better work than that, but you never know. You never know. Now, at her lowest point, she said she contemplated suicide by jumping off the 101 freeway overpass, which is terrible and sad, and that is never anything I'd wish on anybody. She wrote that she's writing this essay to obtain closure and to offer a warning about abusive relationships. Saying here, this kind of relationship is so common, so easy to slip into. Normalizing behavior happens incredibly quickly, and one can lose track of what is acceptable treatment. And when your self-worth reaches such depths after years of being treated like you're worthless, you might find that you think you deserve that sort of treatment and no one else will love you. And that, again, abusive relationships, emotionally, physically, psychologically, mentally, abusive things are horrible and they should never happen. And that's sad that it's there. And I actually would probably argue that that is something I can see coming out of Hardwick. And in part, that has to do with the fact that most comedians are extremely depressed or controlling individuals because they have to go to this kind of like happy, fun place all the time. And that maybe isn't where they are mentally, but it can take tolls. We hear about this like with comedians drinking themselves to death, getting addicted to drugs and other pills and things like that. A lot of it's because being a comedian usually means you're the saddest clown on the inside. It's a weird juxtaposition from your public life to your private life. And maybe that's probably where this came from, which is one of the reasons why I definitely do feel that this is probably more accurate than not. But at the same time, the objective person in me wants to see the evidence in order to then have all of the available information in order to then make the informed decision to grab the torch and the pitchfork, which I believe should be the predominant course of action here. But unfortunately, it's really not. Now, while she did not name Hardwick, she described her ex-boyfriend as growing from a mildly successful podcaster to a powerhouse CEO of his own company. Over the course of their relationship, Dykstra, who's 29, said she ended their relationship when she was 25, so roughly 4 years ago. He announced their breakup in Twitter in 2014, and she also said that her ex was almost 20 years older. Hardwick is 46. He married actress model Lydia Hurst in 2016. Now, that is all true. Like I said, that's kind of why I took a look at the IMDb, just to have an idea there. Again, just that's for information. Take that for whatever you will. But looking here at this, I want to just kind of scroll past everything down to the bottom, right? Down to the bottom here, just to the PS, because this is at the very end of it all. She says here, PS to the man who tried to ruin my future. A sincere and heartfelt apology could have made my last 4 years of hell a lot easier. The person I used to date would try to sue me due to pride. I would not recommend it. I have audio video that will support and prove many things I've stated in this post. I've chosen not to include it for your sake in the hopes that the person you've become will do the right thing. So, okay. This is another thing that's really kind of been eating at me. So she claims to have audio video backing it up, all right, to give her to prove what she says, but she won't release it because she doesn't want to name that it's Chris Hardwick because she doesn't want to be sued for defamation, all right, which leads me to believe that she recorded this stuff, without his knowledge when they were together in California, which California is a two-party state, so that would be considered a violation of his rights. I think illegal wiretapping. And that could be a big no-no. So he would have reason to then sue her for that as well if he so wanted to. But this is a shaming thing. This is a shaming thing. She says here, I'm chosen not to include this for your sake in the hopes that the person you've become will do the right thing. She wants an apology. This is a public shaming at the risk of everything he's built, at the risk of everything he's done, at his entire career, his namesake, his reputation, in order to facilitate an apology through accusations from an unlisted Medium post, right? Again, going back up here, unlisted. The story is only visible to those with the link. Now, again, that's kind of eating at me a little bit all day because it comes across as vengeful. And I've talked about this a little bit on Twitter, and people have been like, well, doesn't she have the right to share her story? Which, yeah, she does, totally. But how you share your story and what your end game is with that is what I take issue with. Because this is a tweet she said about 10 hours ago. Said, I quietly posted an article today, unlisted on Medium. It clearly made the rounds. I'm overwhelmed and I want to thank all of you for your support and kind words. They mean so much to me. I may take some time off the internet. Please know your support means everything to me. So she admitted that she was unlisted on Medium and it made the rounds. That was her entire goal. She knew what was going to happen. She knows that we're in the Me Too age. She knows that we're in the Me Too era, post Harvey Weinstein. She knows precisely what would happen. She knew exactly what the response would be. She knew exactly who the people sharing the link would be. She knew exactly who defending her would be. She knew exactly who would be attacking Chris Hardwick. And she knew exactly what would happen in the case of the Nerdist, and probably what will happen in case of AMC and NBC. Now, keep in mind that she's not coming out 100% and saying that she was raped. In regards to the sexual assault, she says that she let him as part of the relationship. Now, I did float that question to a few of my female friends asking if that's considered rape, and the common response I got back was, well, no, because she admitted it and she acknowledged it and she did it and she consented. So there's got to be some culpability for herself in that particular thing, which I do believe that she is in fact putting out there. So again, this is one of those weird situations. This is one of those really, really weird situations where it feels like there is this was very much a vindictive act. And it's one that we, I think, as a culture, as a society, need to look at and always say, fine, where's the proof? Because what we're seeing and what can only be dubbed at this point as the McCarthyism is the utter destruction of this person's life. And that's what it's scorched earth. That's what it was. This is what this is intended to be. And I really don't like these things. I don't like people to be abused, period. But this comes across very much as just, I want an apology and I want this and I want that. And I'm going to destroy everything you've got to get it. That whole line at the end there, the person you've become to do the right thing. There's better ways, I think, than trying to torpedo someone's entire career that you're trying to get an apology out of. She said the whole thing was for closure. A firing shot like that, an unlisted post, it making the rounds, is anything other than closure. It was a direct, deliberate maneuver to elicit a response at the sake of possibly destroying everything he spent years and years and years building. That is the key takeaway here. And that is frightening that no one else out there has even remotely bothered to call that out or to call into question the motives. Because, to be fair, we live in the age of Me Too. And we're not going to get that. And I'll probably catch a lot of flack for this video, which is fine with me. I'm fine with that. Because I would rather there be due process, evidence-based accusations, than just unlisted Medium posts, very detailed, but without saying any names, knowing damn well what was going to happen. But I want to know what you guys have to say about this. Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? Do you think this is accurate, inaccurate? Was she right? Was she wrong? There are very, very, very many things about this that can be discussed, can be talked about because of where it stands. But let me know your thoughts. They should be very interesting. And if Chloe herself wants to talk, I'm open to talk. So my email is in the video description. But I hope you guys thumbs up the video. Hope if you're new, you subscribe to the channel. I cover this kind of stuff often. I do like to be objective, even if that does make me come across a bit like an asshole, because I do feel sometimes you have to be in order to really discuss some of the finer details. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day and peace out.